Hello folks and welcome to my channel. Fingers crossed I get to do this. This is about the umpteenth take. I just don't know. Everything seems to be going wrong today. Anyway, so I'm coming on to show you how I make my hidden message cards. So these are my hidden message cards. So it's a flower which you then open the bow, and then there's some more petals inside, so you pull that open, and then inside you have a hidden message. It works on the same sort of principle as a cardboard box, you know, and you've got the four leaves and then you sort of interlock them, and they hold each other closed. Well, this is the same sort of thing. You just push the leaves back in, and the last one you just tuck under that one, the one before, and then you just push them down and they all hold themselves closed. I put a ribbon on them because I just think it just adds a little bit of extra and gives an indicator that, you know, there's something in here to open. You know, you don't have to have the ribbon on, but I think it helps. So there's one. This is another one. This is a very plain one. I've just used some pattern papers and then inks and a thin black pen to create the same thing. And again, we open it up and the petals open out to reveal a happy birthday message inside. And then this is a birthday card that's going out to a friend tomorrow. So again, a nice bright ribbon, and we open it out and we have a message inside, and this one says, "You're blooming great." And the recipient then has the choice of whether to keep the leaves folded in and put the ribbon across again, or whether to stand it up and leave the petals out. It's entirely up to you which way. And I think this is quite a quirky looking little card. Or this one's not quite so little, this one's an 8x8, but I think it's a quirky looking little card, and it doesn't need a ton of embellishments, which is why I do like to keep these ones quite simple, but entirely up to you whether you want to do lots of matting and layering and adding additional bling or not, or keep it as simple as that. I think because this flower is quite a big one, it really works to keep it like on a big card. And then we have this one, which is the little template, the little flower inside, and again you've got your choice of whether to keep the leaves, the petals, closed, or to leave them open. And because I'm trying to remember to show the inside of a card, I've kept the inside of the cards quite simple as well. With this one, it's just a white piece of thin card with a message on, and then this side I've used the template that I've used the smaller one. This is the big template, this is the smaller template, and then put another flower inside just to match. So yeah, so these are the cards. Now I do like to take them off the card, but with this one, so with these ones I've cut the flower down, but with this one I've left it going over the sides and curled those edges up just to give it a bit more character. So to create this, you'll need some nice double sided paper, and you will need a template. Now the templates I've done in another video. Create your own. So this is the one I created in that video using some card that was on the back of I think this was what was this, a calendar or something that I've used. It's quite a heavyweight card. It's about 250, maybe 300 GSM. I'll link the video on how to make the template for yourself, and that way you can do whatever size. What I've done is I've shown you how to create it using whatever you've got to hand. So this one was used with a with that as the center. The smaller one that I've got, I've used the lid from a hand cream to create the center. It's all the same sort of principle. Now, if you feel that it's a bit too complicated, don't take any notice of all these grids. There's no measuring to do really, apart from to measure from the edge of the circle there. There's one measurement and that's it. But if you feel that's too complicated, then let me know. Email me on cbcrafter@yahoo.com, and what I'll do is I'll create a template. Just tell me roughly what size you want, and I'll create a template on a piece of copier paper, and I'll post the copier paper to you. Obviously that's going to be a lot cheaper. And then just get your copier paper with a template on, glue it onto a piece of card, and then cut out your template. You know, and there you've got your template to create some more of these if you want. For those of you that know, I have changed my email address because I was getting emails from people from YouTube with discussion points and questions and stuff, but I wasn't getting them. They were going into my spam email. So for YouTube, I've created this email address. Just means that hopefully I'll be able to find emails before they go into spam. Anyway, right, so what you do is you get your template, and as you see, it's numbered all the way around. We're not going to worry about that first off, and you just lay it down, and then you're going to draw all the way around the outside of your template. If you've got a few lumps and bumps, because like I has, because in places I've not cut it quite round, then don't worry, because what I've done is, well, what I do is when I then cut it out with my scissors, I just cut it a slightly rounder. So, and also, as I say, when you create the template, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's about something being a little bit quirky. So once you've drawn all the way around the outside of your template, you're going to shift it ever so slightly, and you're going to then start numbering on here using a pencil. So number 1, I'm going to write number 1 on that leaf. This one's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, 6, 7 and 8. And we'll need that later on for when we're putting our flower together. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create another one. So this one will be our base, and the next one will be the top, the bit that folds in. Now, depending on what effect you want, you're either going to slide your template across and do exactly the same and put the numbers on, or you're going to flip it over and do exactly the same. You'll notice I've put numbers on this side of the template as well. What I've done is I've made sure that whatever number is on this side of the petal is the same number on this side. Just helps later on when we're matching it up, and I'll get to that in a minute. So this one's number 1, this one's number 5, and it's number 5 on this side. This one's number 3, and it's number 3 on this side. So exactly the same all the way around. So you're going to draw your templates, whether you flipped it or not, and then cut them both out. So this is where, okay, so let's bring those across. So if you haven't flipped your template, what you will end up with is, so this is how we've used our templates. Let me just double check the numbers. So that was number 4, that was number 3. So we've cut it out like that and like that. So Let's turn it round so that they're both the same. There's number 1. So that when we then match them up together, let's do it that way round. So if I put number 1 and number 2 over number 1 and number 2, we then end up with the 2 templates fitting together quite nicely. What I do with the top one is I cut slightly inside the line, just so it's ever so slightly smaller than the one that's going to be the base. Just helps when you fold the petals in later. So now we have those 2 matching. So we decide now whether we want this to be the flower that's facing on the card or whether we want it that way round. So I wanted this paper up, so I would have it that way. What will happen if you've just moved your template across, so you've put it down and then you've just moved it across like that, is you will get this effect. So your pattern will match up like that, but when you fold your petals in, I keep saying leaves, I don't know, it's petals. When you fold your petals in, then it will be the pattern on the reverse side that you will see. If that's not the effect you wanted, then what you need to do is put your your template down and then flip it over to get the match. So I'm not overly keen on that, but if you've got some really nice patterned paper, something like let me see, it's gone, I must have moved it. I have got some really nice pattern paper that both sides were really pretty, and it would work with those because they're contrast. But with this one, I'm not keen on that. So what I'm going to do with this paper is I'll pop those to the one side. So what I did with this paper is I did flip it. So when I cut this one out, this was this one. When I cut this one out, it was, let me get it right. So I cut it out, traced round it like that, cut it out, and then I flipped it over so it was like that and cut it out. Because your petals are all slightly different, some of them will sit at different angles, some of them will be fatter or thinner, it just leaves you a better look for your card. So what I do now is I will put them back to back like that and match them up. So this is why it's very important to write the numbers on your papers. So I'm going to match, there's 5 and 6, so 2 5s are together, 2 6s are together, and they'll all match in together like that. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to do it. So to create the card, I'm going to pop that to, actually, yeah, I'm going to pop that to one side. I'm going to bring in, so this is an A5 card. There is some glue on it. I do apologise. I did try to do this earlier, but the fire alarms all went off. So what I've done, I've got the numbers on this side, but I've made sure I've put them on this side as well. So this is number 6, this is number 7, because this is the paper I want up. So I'm going to get my glue, pop it on the back. So I'm going to, what I will do with this is I do like it. So I could put it right in the middle like that if I wanted, and that would fit just about, but it would fit. But I do like to off-centre it ever so slightly because I think it just gives a better sort of look. So you see how that one is just off the page. I just think it looks a little bit more natural, shall we say. So, but it depends entirely on what look you're going for. So I'm going to put some glue on. We go to the edges. I'm not going to curl these edges like I did with the little one, so I'm going to make sure that I've got glue close to the edges but not too much, because what I don't want is the glue to be oozing out. Okay, so plenty of glue on, and I like white, not white, I like liquid glue, but you can use whatever you've got to hand. So I'm going to take it so that it's ever so slightly off the page like that, and then I'm going to push it down like that. So I'm going to flip it over, and as you can see, those bits are hanging over, so I'm just going to cut those off ever so carefully, using the back of the card as my guide to create that straight line. And I can come back in afterwards if there's any bits still hanging over that I don't like. So there we go, and then that's what we've created. So there's our flower. So I'm now going to fix this on. So what I'm going to do is use some yellow ribbon. This is, let me just measure that for you. That's about 17.5 inches. It's entirely up to you how long or short you want it. So I'm going to match my numbers up again. So there's number 8 and number 7 and number 6. There's 8, 7 and 6. I'm going to pop that over like that. So I now know which way my flower is going to go. So before I put the ribbon on, I'm going to fold this in. So very carefully, I'm going to start bringing them into the middle, one at a time, folding them over each other. I'm not going to press down too much at the moment. I'm just going to bring them in like that. Make sure that any that need to clip underneath go underneath like that. And then I'm going to push them all in. This is a bit fiddly. And then when I'm happy that I've got a nice shape, I'm going to hold it down, and then I'm going to bring my bone folder in and just fold them over. The reason I do it like this is because sometimes if you do it first, so if I was to bring them all in and fold them all the way across, sometimes the petals are a little bit too large and they just don't fit properly. So now I know that that's how my flower is going to look. So again, making sure that I've got my flowers in the right position. So let's pop that back off. There's my number 8, there's my number 8, there's my number 7, number 7, number 6 and number 6. I'm going to line that up. So I know I want my ribbon going across from 1 to 5. That's where I want that. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put some red liner tape across the middle of my flower. And this then can hold that ribbon in place. So putting that in the middle. Let's move that out because I don't want it to stick to it before I'm ready. Let's take the liner off, the red bit. Sometimes this works with my taking it off with my nails. Other times I have to get something a little bit sharper out. Okay, so I'm going to flip that over. Now I wanted it to go 1 to 5. So I'm going to bring my ribbon across. There's 1 to 5. There we go. I'm just going to fold it all in and make sure that I'm not worrying too much about folding it in properly. Make sure that I can do a nice bow in the middle here. Let's see if it'll work. I'm going to bring it over ever so slightly. So, and I think I'm going to flip it over as well, so it's that way around. So there we go. Put it back. Fold those petals in and then try again. Let's do it. I like to offset mine ever so slightly, just to give it a bit more of a, I don't know, just a different sort of look. I think it just makes it a little bit, not oddball, what's the word I'm looking, a bit more quirky. So there we go. Not the best bow, but we know that that's in the right place now. So I'm going to bring my flower back in, and I'm now going to put glue all the way around the back of my flower. I've got all my petals tucked in, so I'm happy that I'm not going to be getting them, getting glue on them, should I say. And then I'm going to put, I'm using wet glue again just around the outside because I think it's going to hold everything, including my ribbon, in place a little bit better. And then I'm going to double check my numbers, so that's number 7, so I know that that goes there, and pop that in place like that. I'm going to undo my ribbon now, and that way I can open it out and I can now use my bone folder to push the glue into the paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my rubber and I'm going to rub out all of the numbers that are on the edge. I'm not going to worry too much about this because that's going to be covered in a minute. So I'm just rubbing out those numbers that I've put in pencil, which is why you need to, when you do write them, just be really careful not to lean too heavily on the paper, otherwise you can leave a bit of an impression on the paper and you can still see the number. That one's right on the edge, so I'm going to rub it out just in case. There we go, number 1. Number 8 should be alright, but let's give it a rub over just in case. Number 2, number 3. Okay, that shouldn't be too bad. And now what I've done is I've used, so this was what I used to create my template in the first instance. So that was the first circle I drew when I was creating my template. So I'm going to use this again to draw a circle on a white piece of thinner card. But when I cut it out, what I've done is I've cut ever so slightly inside the line. I hope you can see that there. It's just inside the line at about 1/8 of an inch. That just gives me a little bit of wiggle room when I then put my sentiment in the middle. That 8 is, I can just see it, so I'm just going to do that again, otherwise it will annoy me. Okay, so I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue my sentiment in, which I've already pre-stamped it using one of my favourite little stamps which I picked up for 50p at a car boot sale over at Furnace End last summer, I think it was, and I thought it was rather quirky. So a little bit of glue in the middle and then lining it up. I'm going to pop that right in the middle of my flower, and I'm just going to double check that it's not too big, that it's going to stop my petals from folding in. Okay, rub that all in. Now I'm going to fold all my petals in because I want to do the rest of the card, and this bit is, this is what I do to finish off the next bit of the card, but again it's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to put a bow on here, and then I'm going to bring in my thin pen, and it's a very fine point on that pen. I hope you can just see that. So this is what I like to do, entirely optional. If you don't want to, then don't feel that you have to. But what I want to do is to now, just using the card as a guide, just follow it all the way around the outside. And you see how the flower now starts to pop. It just sort of gives it that very thin border, which enables the flower to just come forward and pop. So you can just really see it in all its glory. I'm going to go down there as well. What I did before I stuck everything on was I used the same pen to then create these lines, this sort of frame to the outside of the card. Okay, I've done that. And if you want to, as I've done on this one, I've then put a double line around it again. So just very carefully. And this is about being brave and realising that actually it doesn't really matter. And even if you think it doesn't look brilliant, or you're just not confident, it just adds to the quirkiness of the whole card. Now look, I've messed up a little bit there, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's just gone a little bit too much. And I think for me, when I do this, the slower I am, the more careful I am, the more wobbly my line goes. See, it's just gone because I stopped there. But then you can tidy that up by putting some dots in, and that just adds a little bit more interest, and then sort of covers up some of your wobbles, if you like. So, and it's all about it. It's like a doodle. That's it. It's like a doodle card, this is, in some respects, because it is just about enjoying what you do and not being, you know, it's not about perfection. You know, this is about a little bit of your art, you know, and actually art is not perfect. And if you look at nature, then nature is far from perfect. You look at flowers, and how many flowers have the petals that are all exactly the same. They're all very similar, and they might be similar colours, and they might have very similar markings on them, but they're not perfect. They're not clones of each other. Anyway, once you get to this part, and if you want to, you can use the pencil if you're not feeling brave. But now we want to put a stem on it. So I'm just going to go from underneath here using my pen, and I'm going to sweep it down in a little bit of an arch like that, and that's my stem. I'm now going to use my hand, keeping it on the surface. I'm just going to do myself an arch to start creating a leaf. So just keeping it there and then bringing it back down again, creating that leaf. And then again on here, bringing it up, turn it round and bringing it back down. And then I'm going to use my similar arch to then create a middle bit to the middle of the leaf. So let me see which way I want it. I want it to go that way. So, and then the centre of that one, but I'm not going to go all the way to the top. And then I'm going to get, now we've all seen these before, and my daughter gave me this one, which I thought, that's very narrow, I'm not going to be able to use that. But this has actually been really, really useful for now shading in my leaf. So taking a bit of ink on my leaf, on my brush, I'm just going to brush the ink onto my leaf. It's a very, this is Shabby Shutters, so it's a very, very light sort of lime green, if you like. But this is a nice shape to just bring out that very subtle little bit of hint of green which then adds something to my leaf. And because I'm going backwards and forwards along that centre line, it just brings that little bit of green forward. And I don't know whether my camera's going to pick it up, but there you go. And then exactly the same with the stem. So I'm just going to pop this on and follow the stem up and back down again, and just putting a very, very slight hint of colour, because it's such I mean it's a really light sort of a, what would you call it, lime green, but it's a very, very light lime green, and this just gives it a tiny little hint of colour through the middle there, like that. And that, for me, all that now needs is a little happy birthday or thinking of you type sentiment. I'm not quite sure what this one's going to be just yet, but I will. That's it. I might actually go round with a little bit. I want to do pink, or do I want? I think I'm going to do the green around the outside of the card as well, just to pick up a little bit more on that green, just all the way around the outside. And that's my card finished. You know, I want it to stay fairly simple, because I think all the focus is on here, is on the secret message bit. I don't think it needs an awful lot more than it's already got. And I'll put something pretty on the inside. I'll probably use the same papers again and do something similar to what I've done in the other card, which was it that one? Yeah, I'll probably do something similar to what I've done there, using whatever sentiment it's going to be. Might be a birthday card, it might be a thinking of you card, I don't know yet. So there we go. So that's my, and as I said in my earlier video, I then use the template on other things. So I've created tags as well. So that's using the big template. This one is using the little template and just following the same principle. So I think they're really cute, and I have made absolutely loads of them, because it means now I've got plenty of cards for anything that's coming up. I think this